The Sydney Ghost Train fire at Luna Park, Sydney, in Milsons Point, New South Wales, Australia, killed 7 people, 6 children and 1 adult, on 9th June 1979. Inadequate firefighting measures and low staffing caused the fire to completely destroy the amusement park's ghost train. On June 9, 1979, tragedy struck Luna Park, a popular amusement park located in Sydney, Australia. The ghost train ride, a favourite attraction among visitors, suddenly caught fire, unleashing a devastating inferno that claimed the lives of 7 people. The fire was so intense that it wiped out almost an entire family, leaving a community in shock and mourning. At the time of the catastrophic disaster, the ghost train ride at Luna Park in Sydney, Australia was already quite a gig. In fact, the ghost train was designed and constructed in 1931 at Luna Park, Glenelg, then later transported to Sydney with many others where it formed the basis for the new Luna Park there. Architectural plans of the ghost train are held at the State Library of New South Wales. In those days, this type of ride was known as a pretzel ride due to the way the track wound and twisted in a tight, convoluted manner inside the ride building. It was not until 1937 that the attraction underwent a major transformation, receiving a ghostly facelift and re-emerging as the Ghost Ride. With its updated eerie theming, the ride quickly became a popular draw for visitors, seeking a thrilling and spooky experience. For decades, it continued to operate as one of Luna Park's iconic attractions, delighting and terrifying visitors of all ages. The ghost train ride at Luna Park in Sydney, Australia, featured metal cars that accommodated 2 riders each. The cars were propelled forward from the station by a ride attendant, and then followed a predetermined track, weaving and winding their way through a series of darkened rooms that were filled with an array of eerie animatronics, creepy music, and special effects that sent chills down the spine of even the bravest souls. Although the interior theming of the ride had been updated and revised regularly over the years, the fundamental track layout had remained unchanged since 1936. Even after its transformation into the Ghost Ride in 1937, the ride's signature pretzel-like twists and turns remained an integral part of its design, confusing and disorienting riders as they careened through the ride's shadowy corridors. Regrettably, the fire suppression systems that had been retrofitted into the aging ghost train ride were also inadequate and outdated, proving unable to contain the inferno that broke out on that fateful evening in 1979. At the time of the fire, there were approximately 35 riders aboard the ill-fated attraction. Adding to the tragic toll of the disaster, the staff at Luna Park in Sydney, Australia, received their first inkling that something was awry when smoke started to billow out of the entrance and exit tunnels of the ghost train ride. Instead of halting the ride immediately and attempting to evacuate the guests through the labyrinthine and bewildering interior passageways, the staff decided to keep the ride operational and instead directed their attention towards guiding the riders out of their cars and away from the attraction as quickly as possible as soon as they emerged from the tunnel. This decision to prioritize the safety of the guests and usher them away from the ride was undoubtedly a difficult one, as it involved balancing the need to evacuate the riders quickly with the imperative to prevent the fire from spreading and causing further harm. Upon receiving the distress call, the fire service promptly arrived at Luna Park in Sydney, Australia, but by then the fire had already gained an ominous foothold within the ghost train ride. Despite their determined efforts to extinguish the flames, the firefighters were met with significant obstacles, including low water pressure within the park that impeded their ability to douse the inferno. As the minutes ticked by, the ghost train ride was engulfed in a raging inferno, its once majestic structure reduced to a heap of smoldering rubble and twisted metal. In the immediate aftermath of the fire at the ghost train ride in Luna Park, there were early reports that all riders had been safely evacuated from the ride. However, at approximately 11:30 p.m., the discovery of 7 bodies shattered this initial sense of relief and left the entire community in shock and mourning. To make matters even more harrowing, the bodies were so severely burnt that the investigators on the scene initially believed them to be animatronics from the ride's theming, adding an eerie and unsettling element to the tragedy. Among the deceased were a father and his two young children, whose lives were tragically cut short in the midst of what was supposed to be a fun and carefree family outing. According to reports, the family, identified as John Godson, his wife, and their children, had been visiting Luna Park when the unthinkable happened, thrusting them into the heart of one of the most devastating disasters in the park's history. The Godson family had spent the day enjoying the many attractions of Luna Park. The ghost train was to be their final ride of the day, and while John Godson and his two children eagerly boarded the cars, his wife made the decision to skip the ride and enjoy an ice cream instead. Little did she know that this decision would ultimately spare her life, but leave her as the only surviving member of her beloved family. As she waited for them at the exit of the ride, completely unaware of the horror unfolding inside, her husband and children were trapped and unable to escape the rapidly spreading flames. Among the victims of the ghost train fire were 4 young boys, all of whom attended the nearby Waverley Boys College. These bright-eyed and innocent children, named Jonathan Billings, Richard Carroll, Michael Johnson, and Seamus Riley, were just 12 and 13 years old at the time of the disaster. There has been much speculation about the final moments of the 7 victims of the ghost train fire. It is believed that when the fire broke out, they quickly realized the danger and left their cars in an attempt to escape the building on foot. However, the dark, twisting corridors of the ghost train proved to be a confusing and disorienting maze, made all the more treacherous by the thick smoke that filled the air. It seems that the victims lost their way in the dense smoke, unable to find their way to safety. Despite their desperate efforts, they ultimately succumbed to the deadly fumes, trapped and unable to escape the burning ride. While we can't know for sure, it's possible that the 7 victims of the ghost train fire might have survived. Had they stayed in their cars in the chaos and confusion of the moment, they may not have realized the safest course of action. The exact cause of the fire has never been identified. However, over the years there have been suspicions that Abe Saffron, a notorious figure in Sydney's underworld, may have been involved in the blaze. Despite this speculation, no concrete evidence has ever emerged to support these claims, leaving the truth of the matter shrouded in mystery. According to his niece, Abe Saffron allegedly ignited the fire as a part of a scheme to secure the lease of Luna Park. However, she claimed that he did not intend to cause any fatalities. Nevertheless, Abe Saffron refuted any association with the incident, and no conclusive evidence was discovered to support the allegations. A small plaque on the external wall of the Big Top Arena, which now occupies the site where the ghost train once stood, serves as a memorial for the victims of the fire. Despite the events that occurred on that fateful day in 1979, Luna Park remains a popular destination, attracting millions of visitors each year. In April 2021, following the release of Exposed, the Ghost Train Fire, and the subsequent public outcry New South Wales premiere, Gladys Berejiklian said that relevant agencies in Nes Dollars are considering a fresh inquest. The Nes Dollars police force reopened their investigation, and its homicide division established Strikeforce Sedgman to conduct the review. A reward of AUD $1 million for fresh and significant information has been offered to encourage witnesses to come forward. As of November 11, 2023, the reward is still active.